All right. We are live. Another episode. I'm excited about this episode. I have a new guest. You all know that we are talking about minority mental health for the month of July, and I have back-to-back episodes. I don't usually do back-to-back episodes, but I thought that this topic warranted, a lot of conversation. And so this conversation is with Miss Sabrina Joy. Is it Perozzo?
Yeah, that's correct.
I said it right. Okay.
Yeah.
So sometimes I add extra stuff in there. How are you today?
I'm doing very good. Very good. How are you doing?
Girl, listen, y'all, we look like, we ain't been through some stuff, but we had some technical difficulties. I wanted to make sure that the quality on this particular episode was a little better. So I hope you all can tell for all the trouble I've been through tonight. But I'm excited. We are talking about authenticity, correct?
Yeah. My favorite topic.
Yeah. So before we dive on in, if you don't mind, introduce yourself to the listeners and let them know who you are and what you do.
So my name is Sabrina Joy Perozzo, and basically I would say what I do is I spend a lot of time talking about authenticity, transparency, and mental health online. It's my biggest passion because I feel like people don't make enough time for it. Everyone throws out motivational quotes and things like that, but I want to bring like a true representation of someone that's going through the journey of so many mental health issues, but still able to like live my best life. So that's what I do most of the time.
I love it. That's a great message to put out there, because you're right. On social media, you see all the pretty, perfect pictures with the perfect angles and the perfect lighting, but that's not real life. And I do want to talk about how you can, have issues and have struggles, but yet you can still thrive. You can do it. And I think that we both, just per our conversation leading up to this, we both can attest to that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to talk about, so the title of this particular episode is Being Real with How We Feel. I thought this was really important because a lot of times one of the main things I see is when someone asks you, how are you doing? What do we usually say?
Fine, I'm great.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
Yeah. Oh, girl, I'm blessed. Oh, girl, all is well. And it's like, that's cute, but it isn't always honest. It's something we just do out of habit. But I want us to, like you said, as your message is, to start being transparent about how we really feel, because like the motto of this podcast, we cannot heal what we hide. And so if you just continuously tell people, oh, I'm good, oh, I'm fine, girl, all is well, people believe that.
Yeah.
Not knowing that you could possibly be dealing with a tsunami of emotions and depression and suicidal thoughts, and going home to cry yourself to sleep or to fight those thoughts and that darkness alone. And you don't have to fight alone.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely not. Like you definitely shouldn't, if the whole world talks about how community is so super important,
Yeah. So one reason, and I'll have you elaborate on this, one reason authenticity is so important, because research shows that people who live more authentically are prone to a greater psychological well-being. And I thought that was very interesting and very true, because when you are not being yourself, who are you being? You're being, it's like a character. You're putting on a mask and a charade, and that's a full-time job. So talk about that. I don't know if you've necessarily dealt with that personally, or you've seen that in what you do. Have you seen that people that maybe aren't living their authentic selves dealing with, a lot of psychological issues and trauma?
Yeah, absolutely. I've definitely met people that are like that, people at church, people at work, in both of those venues, people that I meet at school functions for my daughter, like all these people are pretending to be someone that they're not. I have personal experience with that. I spent like most of my life being someone else. I'm like prone to being a perfectionist, a people pleaser. So I am definitely always trying to be the person that that person needs me to be, what mask I need to put on in that moment. And it wasn't until the last like 2 or 3 years that I actually realized how stressful that was, how much of a burden that was, how I literally took a step back and realized I have absolutely no idea who I am. I am a
Yeah.
shell of a person.
Listen.
And yeah, so I have a lot of experience with not being authentic. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I realize how much of my life I've already wasted being like some sort of figment of someone's like, fake reality. That's basically what it is, living a fake reality.
Yeah, I love that. And that's actually my next point here in my notes, that when we're taking away from who we really are, it has the potential of creating immense stress, because you got to keep that up. It's like they say, you tell one lie, you got to tell another one to cover that one and cover that one. And
that's true.
I think for women, when you say, that you dealt with that and you didn't really know who you are, I feel like women deal with that a lot, because we fill our lives so much with everything and everyone else as just natural nurturers. I think, when we have children, we have the title of mother, or just different phases, a student, and just different areas. We always have a title on us. Wife. We always have a title on us. And a lot of times we get to our lives when the children are grown, or, just when they start getting older, college is over, been married a few years or whatever. Our parents are older and, they doing their thing in retirement, and we're just there. A lot of times we do come to that point in our lives to say, man, who am I really? Because we filled our lives so much so with everyone else's stuff and their responsibility, the responsibility of who we had to be to them.
Yeah,
I know for me, I've had a life filled with responsibility. I had a child young, but even before that, I just always had a great responsibility for my little brother and for this and for that. And I've gotten to a place where I'm really digging deep through therapy, through prayer, through the word of God, finding out who I am. Because when you don't know who you are, you tend to either look for validation, trying to figure it out, and looking for love in the wrong places. And we ain't going to go there. It just turned into like a whole spiral of stuff. Or you just kind of mimic what you see. Well, is that what I should be? Is that what I should be? And to me, when I did that with myself, to me, what it did was, now it showed me I didn't really love myself. Not, it's something in me that had to be broken to just not say, let me stop and let me find out who I am. Instead, I spent years and years looking for who I was and what he said, looking for who I was and what she thought, instead of just saying, Angela, do this for you. Who are you for you, not for anyone else? And I want people to really think about that, because we do that a lot, especially in relationships.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So I heard you say something, and we're going to just dive into it. I heard you talk about, church and, being a believer. A lot of times mental health is not spoken about. And, when it is, it's spoken about in such a demonic, nature.
Oh,
and it's also, the resolution is, or the remedy is always pray it away.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of us for years have tried those things. And prayer is powerful. Don't get me wrong. I believe in the power of prayer. However, I do believe in the power that God has given to individuals who are certified for you to speak with.
Yes, absolutely.
That it comes in many different forms, right? So let's talk about that, because I think that when we put that out there as believers, to say that we don't have these issues, or we hide them and act as if they don't exist, we're in some way projecting this image of perfection that is unrealistic to those who don't know God.
Yeah, absolutely. Because how are we supposed to be winning people to our side to follow Christ in whatever denomination you're a part of in general. If we're over here pretending to be like we have it all together, like we know exactly what we need to do at all times, that we're never lost and never uncertain about anything. And I feel like the only thing that I am certain about is that there is a God and that, he's there for me. But beyond that, and I just feel like we spend so much time pretending. And that is definitely my experience with people in the church. And then when they find out that you do have mental health issues or you're going through stuff, they say they want to help you and they seem like they have good intentions, but then they take a step back and they continue to take a step back. And then all of a sudden they're not even within reach. And then you're not even getting the community that they preach all the time and how you're supposed to be there for your neighbor, for your friend, for your brother, for your sister. And it just, a lot of times it seems like such a waste. Like, why are you saying all these things, but you're not doing it? And I feel like the only way that I'm able to give people grace is because I've been given a lot of grace, obviously, but also I know that they're fearful. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. But I feel like I spent a lot of time trying to encourage people, don't be fearful. Like, you don't know what to say, then don't say anything. Just be like, hey, I'm here for you. Help, like, sit with them in that pain. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things that I am just like so passionate about, because I'm like, you don't understand. There are so many people. You could be sitting next to someone that's thinking about killing themselves after they leave service today because no one came up and talked to them, no one gave them a hug, or even like they've just been so lonely, like all the groups that they've joined just haven't worked out. I have this theory about church, about how they have small groups and stuff. I have this theory that there's this pocket of people that just like fall through the cracks and no one's checking on those people. They're checking on all the people that are thriving, that are having the best time ever, that are always inviting more people to the group. But like, who's checking on the people that don't come back?
Yeah,
Who's checking on the people that, go ahead.
What I found is, that's so true. You said so much. I was trying to keep up
Oh, no,
I wanted to touch on. No, I wanted to touch on so many things. It was so good. I agree with that. There's a group of people that fall through the cracks when they aren't thriving. But what I've learned in my personal experience is when I was thriving, we were cool. You was my brother, sister in Christ. But like you said, when I began to struggle, or when I began to have, certain issues, and maybe not mental health for me, but, my child or whatever, you all knew that I was dealing with this, I heard nothing. And I think that's very sad, because I think of church as the hospital. Church is a hospital. You're going to get all kinds of people. That's why people shouldn't expect perfection, because you're going to get all kinds of people at the hospital, okay? Right, you don't know what people are ailing with. You don't know how long they've been ailing with it. You don't know, you know what I'm saying? You don't know. Right. And so I look at that and I said, like you said, it's such a waste. All of the energy, all of the time that we put in, only to still have people that leave in the same condition they came with.
Yeah, absolutely.
We look at Jesus as a healer. God is a healer. Very true. But sometimes the healing comes through those he chooses to use, like the disciples. We are modern day disciples. Yeah, and sometimes we literally miss an opportunity to be the vessel that God uses to help those who come hurting, who come needing healing, who are in pain. And I want to say that I don't want us just to, I will say this: if you don't have anything, if God didn't give it to you, hush your mouth. Don't make things worse.
Exactly.
However, I do think we need to educate ourselves and ask God to help us in that area, because suicides are happening at an all-time high within our churches, and not just the Caucasian churches. This is minority mental health. Okay. Not just with Caucasians, but with our Black and brown brothers and sisters as well. People don't talk about it as much. People try to, hide it and not, they don't want it to be mainstream news, but it is. A lot of preachers' kids, a lot of people who serve on the front lines as servant leaders, and there's something missing, and we have to fill in that gap and ask God to help us, because let's be real. If somebody went home with you, I'm sure there's something that you're dealing with as well. So it always floors me as to why we make struggling or having issues this weird anomaly, like, oh, you're a Christian. Okay, what that mean? Does that mean I don't have struggles and I won't have issues and I won't have things? What message is that what message is being delivered to people if we're saying that?
I think that, like, I personally think that if you are a true Christian, you're actually experiencing more than people that aren't.
Yes.
You're taking on those extra burdens. You are so locked into your faith and trying to continue to, like, stir up faith, because sometimes, girl, I know that, like, despite how much I love God and believe in him, I'm still like, seriously, like, what's happening right now? How could this be happening? But I just feel like I don't even have any more words. It's just so tough, because if you're going to be a Christian, you need to know, and if you want to, like, share your Christianity, you got to tell people all the hard stuff you're going through. You got to tell them what Jesus did for you. You got to tell them where you started from and then where you came to, like where you are right now. And don't tell them that you're at this end point. I preach this message all the time, that if you feel like you've gotten to your highest point, you need to look around and take a step back, because there's no way you're going to get there until you, like, graduate to heaven, because you're still continually growing and learning all the time. And if you think you've run out of things to learn and grow about, then you're sadly mistaken.
And then what's the need for God? If you have it all together and you're so perfect and then what need do you have for him?
Yeah,
it's a pride thing.
Yeah,
it's a pride thing. And I won't say that, but it's not good. It's not good. And so it was very important for us to talk about that. I didn't even mean to stay on it that long, but I just really feel, because there are some people that said, I'll never return back. I'll never go back. I'll never listen to the sermon. I'll never, but they are really dealing. And a lot of them, again, I'm going to keep saying it and I'm going to continue to stress it because it's true. It's a lot of the people that look like you and I.
Yeah.
Because in certain denominations and cultures, even in our families, you can't talk about those things.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear it. What do you mean depressed? What are you going through? I literally just a few weeks ago, I'm going to say it. My father called. Listen, this is, cannot heal, but we hide. So my father called and I said, hey, I have to call you back. I have therapy in like 5 minutes. Therapy? I said, yes, I'm in therapy. He starts to laugh. He says, okay. And so he calls me back later on and he says, what are you in therapy for? What's wrong with you? What are you dealing with? Why does something have to be wrong with me? Why not look at it and say, I'm proud of you for taking a step that you felt like you needed to make sure that you were right, to make sure that everything in you was, where it needs to be. Why does it have to be wrong?
Right. Yeah, there's this like weird stigma over counseling and therapy. Yeah.
And I want us to remove that, because it's in our families, it's in our churches, it's amongst our friends, even some of our friend circles. We can't really be transparent like we would want to be, because there is a reaction that you get from people when you are honest about your stuff.
Yep.
People can tell you all day long about their stuff. But as soon as you be like, you know what, I've been feeling down. I've been feeling like I'm crying. I'm crying. I don't really know why. I have this, that, and the third going on. And I just feel really heavy. It's like, girl, watch you something funny. Like, people will say this, like, watch something funny or, crazy stuff. And I'm like, maybe just listen. And I may feel better. Because there's so much power in just being able to vent, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like just getting it off your chest. And I feel like a lot of people will confuse like venting with complaining, when, with venting, you're like asking for permission. You're like, hey girl, can I talk to you for a minute? Like, I'm going through it. And then you unload everything. And because they've already given you the option, but with your complaining, you're putting a negative spin on it. You're like not really trying to get any sort of feedback. And you know, even sometimes when you're venting, you're not looking for feedback, but still you are just wanting to like unload it. You want to take that burden off that you've been holding on to so closely and just kind of spill it out, because sometimes when you just spill it all out, you're able to see it all for what it is, and then either problem solve or just move on because it's just been taking up space, right? And so that's I don't personally have anyone that I really vent to, minus my therapist. Sometimes my husband, but I've created boundaries there just because it's absolutely necessary to. Like, I share things with him, but I know where his threshold is. So I feel like that's important too, you know, with my friends.
Yeah.
I'm trying to like learn my threshold with them. And I don't think that's a fault on them. It's just more of like protecting me because I've been hurt so many times, which I feel like also plays into that whole thing. Like, people like push you back so far, like, you know, you kind of create your own boundaries because you don't want to continually be hurt again. So yeah, I
Yeah.
totally agree. Venting can just venting could just be therapy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you kind of touched on some things that I kind of want to talk about as we conclude this. I want to just let those that are listening or watching, I just want to let you know that someone will love you where you are.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times, again, like I said earlier, I've been in crazy relationships, drama filled. I have isolated myself, kept people away because I felt like my
Mm-hmm.
stuff was too much. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like who would love me in the condition and shape that I'm in, you know, at
Mm-hmm.
those particular times. Or, you know, feeling like I don't want to put this on them
Yeah.
because, you know, what if they leave? What if they walk
Right.
away from me in this time? I can't handle that on top of everything else. So let me just hold it. But I
Mm-hmm.
want to touch on that really quickly as we conclude, because we're talking about authenticity and we're talking about transparency. But honestly, a lot of people may not, the other reasons may not be why they aren't authentic or transparent. It could just simply be because they want love, and who they currently are attached to or connected to, they don't want to lose them
Yeah.
because they don't, you know, they don't want to lose them by telling their truth. Someone may want love and just unwilling to even try because of what they're dealing with in regards to their mental health. So
Yeah.
if you will, to kind of encourage someone and talk to them, someone will love you in the state that you're in, even if it's God first. I always say this: God always loves us unconditionally, right?
Yep.
And some people have their
Yep.
own beliefs. I'm not here to push mine on you.
Right.
I'm just saying, for me, that's my go-to, because when I didn't love myself, I knew someone had to love me for me not to make a decision to end my life at certain points. Something would
Mm-hmm.
always happen. Something would always encourage me. You know, I would get a sign or someone to check on me, and it was like, you know how you say, well, God, if you don't want me to do this, you know, and something would
Yeah.
always happen. And
Yeah.
so I can say for myself personally, despite what your beliefs, you know, in general, whoever's watching or listening, God it always loves us. His love never fails. It never
Yep.
gives up. It never runs out. And
Yep.
then secondly, if you feel alone or you feel like someone doesn't love you, love yourself. That's so
Oh,
important,
absolutely.
because
Yeah.
before you can truly, authentically love anyone else, you have to love yourself.
Yeah, you can't pour from an empty cup at all whatsoever. You know, you can pretend for so long, but it's gonna like run dry at some point, and you're
Yeah.
gonna get caught. You're gonna get caught in that part where you're gonna get exposed. And honestly,
Mm,
you know, this sounds really bad, but I think that getting exposed, hitting your rock bottom, is probably one of the best things ever.
very
Like,
true.
at least for me, I went
Right.
through an experience where I was married and I had my child. So, and this was probably like maybe 6, 7 years ago. I just got so fed up with all the stress in my life. I started cutting, and I was cutting in secret. And then it blew up into a really big thing where my husband found out, and everything just hit like rock bottom. And that's the point where I started climbing up to the top. There was one person from church that actually reached out and helped me. So it kind of like kept that like faith that, okay,
Yeah,
there's still people there. There's still people there that care, you know?
absolutely.
Um, there's still people there that care. And I just feel like I actually took the time to start loving myself. Like you said, I realize where God had brought me, how he had kept me safe through all these things, because I come from a very rough background. And I just realized over this time, like, okay, I haven't been loving myself. I haven't been taking care of myself. You know, I've been putting everyone first because I don't even want to look at myself. I don't want to take the time to look at myself because I'm so ashamed. I'm so hurt. I'm so confused about what's going on. And so, yeah, definitely spent some time like loving myself, trying to figure out who I am, what I'm all about. And it was nice. The couple people that are around me, like my husband, my daughter, and a couple friends, they definitely help that too, show that, like, you know, I'm obviously married to an amazing man that saw the absolute worst that someone could see. Very grateful for that. You know, maybe not everyone has that partner. People are searching for love, like you said, but you truly can't be in a true relationship unless you do love yourself at least a little bit,
Oh,
because they're going to find out and they're going to realize how insecure you are. And if they are continually to have to shoulder that validation for you, they're going to get so tired and they're going to go.
yeah, that's good. That's good. You, I guess it's better to have someone love you knowing everything. You know what I'm saying? Like you want them to know. I just had this conversation earlier. Like it's better to have someone love you with knowing all the stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Someone you can trust, but you know, knowing all the stuff, then dating you for X amount of years, marrying you, having children by you, and then like, oh yeah, surprise, I deal with this once every 3 months just to let you know. And it's like you said, it's like, what? Whoa. That can be a lot.
Yeah.
But someone will still love you in that condition. But I think,
Yep.
again, authenticity, honesty, and transparency is the key, you know, because how would you feel? You know, like you said, and you're going to get exposed. And sometimes I think people, like, that is their freedom, getting exposed. But why even, you know, go through that if you could just be authentic and just say, yo, this is what I'm dealing with. And to me, that would cause me to love you more.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you trusted me with that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So just keep that in mind, listeners, watchers. You know, someone will love you in that state.
Yeah,
and probably even love more.
Also, on that, real quick, if you're out there searching for love and you find it really hard to find that person that is going to love you, maybe you need to take a step back. You know, maybe like all that time you're spending looking for someone and pretending to be this other person, your person's waiting. They're just waiting for you to just like step back and be real and like stop hiding.
Yeah, because like God ain't gonna put them in your path only for you to, you know, hurt them and not be truthful and honest with them. Yo, listen, you're preaching to me now. Let me But I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Man, like I'm serious. It really helps me put some things into perspective. So before we get out of here, Sabrina, let the people know where they can find you, either social media, websites, all that good stuff.
Okay, so if you want to find me on Instagram, I am at Sabrina Joy Perozzo. And the biggest passion project I have going on right now is my own podcast, but I only do it like audio. So anywhere you can get podcasts, you can go and find the Real Positive Girl podcast, which is like a Monday through Friday show, usually no more than 25 minutes, daily motivation, mental health. Like this week, I'm giving tips on how to have the best week. A couple weeks ago, I talked about social anxiety, how to rest, self-care tips. I love it. I love like giving that daily devotional kind of thing to the people. So you check that out.
Y'all check it out. Check it out. This has been amazing. Again, thank you for your patience with all of my technical difficulties.
Totally fine.
And thank you for your time. This was great.
Awesome.
All right, y'all. Until next time, you're listening and watching the Ever Evolving Podcast.